life in the nuclear propulsion officer's shoes. My name is Lieutenant Lucas Benton. I'm an officer recruiter out of Montgomery, Alabama.
My name is Chief Bickley. I'm also an officer recruiter here in Montgomery, Alabama.
And then we're going to have Lieutenant Pulowski introduce himself and start the presentation.
All right, good afternoon. My name is Lieutenant Kyle Pulowski. I'm currently stationed in Millington, Tennessee as a NUPOC officer, helping out local recruiters like this and giving some insight in life on a submarine. So we can go ahead and get started. If you guys have any questions, just interrupt and we can go from there. So a little bit about me. I graduated from the academy in 15. I majored in economics, which is kind of unique because most people who go into submarines have a technical background, but it's not required. And then I also minored in Russian, and I attended a power school in Charleston and stayed in Charleston for prototype. And then I was assigned to the USS Nevada Blue, which is a SSBN ballistic missile submarine out of Bangor, Washington. We'll get a little bit about that in a bit. On board, I was the reactor control assistant, the assistant operations officer, and then also the quality assurance officer on board my 3 years there. And then currently I'm in here in Millington, Tennessee, like I said, doing NUPOC missions. So just kind of a bigger picture of what kind of submarines the U.S. Navy has. I was on the Ohio class submarine up here on the very top. It is the largest submarine the U.S. fleet has, and has two different missions. One mission is the ballistic missile strategic defense aspect, and also has a guided missile aspect, which there are 4 guided missile submarines in our fleet. And then down here we have the Los Angeles and the Seawolf and the Virginia classes. The Los Angeles and the Seawolf class are a little older. They're starting to phase those out, and they're all being replaced by the Virginia class with the most up-to-date technology. Now, all these submarines have different mission sets. Like I said, the ballistic missile is a strategic defense, a GN, guided missile, which is strike warfare or any other special warfare capabilities that they have. And then the Los Angeles, Seawolf, and Virginia class primarily do reconnaissance, intelligence gathering, any kind of forward projection power. Because of nuclear power, we're able to stay out to sea much, much longer than a lot of conventional diesel subs. So on board a submarine, there's kind of a generic layout for every single boat for who's in charge of who and what jobs you're generally going to get. So up top, obviously, we have the commanding officer, the CO. He's typically going to be this is going to be his 4th tour on board a submarine, which means he's been in the Navy for about 20 plus years. And then you have the executive officer, who's going to be his 3rd tour on a submarine. And then below him are going to be your department heads. These are your 2nd tour submarine guys. The supply officer is a unique officer on board, actually. He's the only one usually that is not nuclear qualified. He's a conventional supply officer, so he's not nuclear trained, but he will be qualifying with you in certain watch stations that we'll talk about a little later, and standing watch with you. And then we have the engineer, who is in charge of all the engine room aspects. The navigator, who obviously is in charge of the charts, the navigation, and also operations of the boat. So day-to-day operations or any big events they're planning to do. And then over here, weapons officer, he's in charge of all the weapons batteries on board the submarine, whether it be a ballistic missile, a tomahawk, or torpedoes. Now, if you were to join into this program and then into the submarine force, you would come in as one of these acronyms down here first. You spend 1 year at least in one of the engineering departments. So DCA is a damage control, EA, electrical assistant, CRA, which is chemistry and radiological control, RCA, reactor control, and then MPA is main propulsion assistant. Once you're done a year inside the engine room, you'll start to move forward in the ship, which means you'll take other jobs. So COMO, which is communications officer, you're in charge of operating and make sure your guys operating correctly. All the communications on board a submarine, because obviously if you can't talk to anybody on land, it's kind of hard to know what's going on, especially with the rest of the world. And then assistant operations officer, which is what I was. You're directly assisting the navigator in day-to-day operations. So you do a lot of the smaller planning for, when are we going to be doing these major evolutions? Will it work with all this other stuff that we have to do? And will it be done efficiently without wasting too many people's time? Here we go. And then going back over to AWEPS, he's usually more a senior guy. So a lot of times, some of these jobs can be combined together. I was the AOPS and the QAO at the same time. QAO is considered a secondary billet. And then also sonar is combined a lot with torpedo stuff. It all depends on the manning currently in your ship, and also the individual's capability. Can they handle more on your plate? So that's going to be your first 3-year tour on board a submarine. And then obviously after you're done with your sea tour, you go to a shore tour like I am right now. So we'll go smaller details into your actual division. So this is a generic layout of a division. And I was the RCA, Reactor Control Assistant. So you'll be here, the division officer. You are in charge of your division. However, since you just get there, obviously you don't know everything there is about that stuff. So that's why you have this leading chief petty officer who is the technical expert on board all things related to your division. So he is the go-to guy for any technical assistance or any guidance that you have. And what really can make or break your first tour is your relationship between you and your chief. He's going to help you a lot grow into an officer, and you're going to help him run the division properly. And then underneath him is going to be an up-and-coming leading petty officer. He's going to be a more junior guy, but he shows a lot of potential and ability to lead people underneath him. Then you have the rest of the personnel. Depending how big your division is, could be 3, could be 10, could be 15. It all just kind of depends what actual division it is. So I get a lot of questions for when you're at sea. Your sea tour is considered when you're attached to an operational command or an operational boat. That doesn't mean you're at sea for 3 straight years. Obviously, the boat has to come in, do repair work, load back up with food, change people off. So it's really just import versus underway. I'll start with import. That's when the boat's moored to the pier, and it's kind of a normal work day and a normal work week, Monday through Friday, 7 to 3 or whatever your command decides to do. And you're really just doing your daily maintenance stuff, daily paperwork stuff, any training you need to do, any qualifications that you need to do in order to move on in with your watch standing. And then there also is a thing called duty while you're in port. Not everyone goes home when you're in port. Some people stay in order to watch the boat. So they have to take care of all the reactor stuff if it's shut down or if they're doing operations with that. And all the forward stuff. So they have to keep security watch on all the different weapons that are on board, depending what class of ship you're on. And then 2 officers usually are left on board as the duty officers. I'll go more into that, what they actually are. But then you'll be doing duty for a 24-hour period. You're not going to be up for 24 hours. You're going to be doing your normal work day, and then everyone's pretty much going to go home. And then you have time to do what other stuff you need to do. Go to sleep, wake up usually about midnight when you have to do a quick tour around the boat, make sure everything's still set and safe. And then you can go back to sleep if nothing's going on. Then you wake up again probably around 6, do another tour to make sure everything's good to go before everyone starts coming back in for their work day. Now, if it's a work day afterwards, you still have to do your work day, and then you go home afterwards. But if it's a weekend, you can just turn over to the next guy who has duty, and then you just go home for the weekend. Typically, depending how many people you have on board for officers, it's every 3 to 4 days you'll be standing duty. It could be more, it could be less. Well, not really less than 3, but it could be more. And then for underway, obviously you can't go home every morning or every night. So you have more of a rotation shifts. So typically you have 3 watch sections, and one section is on watch at all times during the day, and we have 3 8-hour shifts. So a typical rotation would be 4 days from 8, starting at 8 till 4 o'clock. You'll be on watch. So what that means, you're in your watch station. So you're either in control, which we'll see a little bit later, or you're back maneuvering, operating the reactor plant. Make sure it's operated safely, answering any bells, any maintenance that's going on, you're approving. And then after that is called offgoing. So after you're done standing your watch, you will have the opportunity to go eat. You'll have the opportunity to do all your other paperwork that you need to do, any training that you have to make up, any other self-interest things. So like sleeping, reading, exercising, you can all do on your offgoing. And then your oncoming is the same thing. Most people usually just sleep during that, but some people have some pretty unique sleep schedules underway, but it's really all just up to you and your time management. And then during underway, the rhythm of the day really depends on what you're doing for the mission. Obviously, the mission's always number one. And then behind that is training and getting ready to do the mission. And then also getting ready to do your next qualification, whether that be in maneuvering, operating the engine room, or up for doing contact management or officer deck, stuff like that. A little bit more for the division officer duties. You as the division officer, again, you are running your division with the help of your chief, but then you also report directly to your division or your department head, which is that second tour officer, like we said before. So as a division officer, you will be approving training, creating it, and also giving it. You also do a lot of audits just to make sure everyone's, following the rules on what they're supposed to do in regards to maintenance, qualifications, and you're also going to be doing a lot of personnel management. So it's a pretty unique role because you can have some people who are older than you, but you are in charge of them and making sure they do all their qualifications on time. Are they doing proper watch turnovers, or are they doing all their maintenance correctly? Stuff like that. In addition to your division, you may also have other collateral duties, like I said before, QAO, quality assurance, which is considered a collateral duty, but it can be a little larger than other smaller things that could fall in your lap depending how much time you have. So a little bit into what watches are. When you're underway, you have someone who is always operating something, and that is considered your watch. You as an officer is going to be more of a supervisor role. So you're making sure they are operating their equipment correctly and properly in accordance with whatever manual you have. And the first thing you're going to be qualifying or working to qualify is engineering officer of the watch. It usually takes 3 to 6 months to actually qualify it. And that is back in maneuvering, back in the engine room. And once you qualify that, you'll be standing watch for a little bit while you're working on your other qualifications, like contact manager is the next one you would be attempting to qualify. And that is kind of like what it sounds like. You're managing contacts. Contacts are other ships out there. Obviously, they can't see us because we're underwater. So we have to watch out for them. And you're just gathering data from all the sonar and other information that you can get in order to make a good enough picture in order to give to the officer deck, which is the next qualification, to drive the ship in a safe manner, safe within the tactical boundaries of the mission, and also just general safety rules for a submarine. After you qualify contact manager, you're going to be working for your surfaced and submerged officer deck. So we do operate surfaced, so we have to abide by the laws of with everyone else because they can see us and we can see them. So just in order not to run into each other, there are certain rules you have to follow, rules of the road. And as the surface officer deck, you are the captain's direct representative, driving the boat at that time, making all the commands and everything. And he trusts you that you are able to do that safely. Same thing with submerged officer deck, except now you're underwater with a lot of different sensors and a lot of different things that could potentially go wrong, but you have your team to back you up. And the captain is always, pretty close by. So that was at sea. Now your responsibilities for watch standing in port, I kind of talked about it before. The first thing you're going to be qualifying in port is going to be engineering duty officer, which is pretty much engineering officer of the watch, except usually the reactor is shut down and you are able to move around a lot more. but you still have duty for 24 hours, so you'll be supervising all the evolutions. And then once you're qualified enough to get ship's duty officer, it's kind of the same thing as officer deck underway, except obviously the boat is not underway, it's tied to the pier, and you're taking care of all the maintenance and all the evolutions that have to go on. Whether it be like loading more torpedoes or doing a big evolution with the planes and rudders, you're going to be supervising all that and informing the captain how things go. So a little cutout of the SSBN. I'll give you a quick little tour from forward to aft. So up here we have the sonar dome. This is a flooded area, so obviously no one goes in there. And then just after that, a lot of the sonar equipment to operate the sonar. And then also there's a lot of redundancy in a submarine, obviously, because if something breaks and we really need it, we don't have a lot of options to pull back in or get it immediately. We have to stay out to sea. And then underneath here, this is a torpedo room. We'll have a couple pictures later to show you. And then just after that is going to be the diesel generator. It's emergency power. So in case the reactor shuts down and we still need to operate the boat, we have one source of power left. And this thing sticking up here, this is the sail. It has all the periscopes, antennas, everything you need. And then right under that is control. And that's where you're going to be standing most of your watch once you're more qualified, such as contact manager and officer of the deck. Down over here, this is where all the officer berthing is. So their bathroom, their head, and the captain's is over here somewhere behind that. And going after a little bit more, this is what makes a Ohio class very unique, is another compartment, and it's full of nuclear weapons. They run the entire height of the boat, so they're massive. And the crew actually sleeps in between the missile tubes. We'll show you some pictures of that later. And just after that is a lot of the life support equipment. So you have oxygen generators, CO2 scrubbers. And then just after that is going to be your actual reactor. There's a little tunnel here. It's more of a hallway. They call it a tunnel. And you walk past the reactor. You can't see it because it's enclosed, obviously. And then you're in the engine room. And this is going to be maneuvering, this little box here. And this is where you're going to be standing most of your first watch, engineering officer of the watch, once you qualify. So a little breakdown of what the crew consists of. You're going to have about 140 enlisted on board, about 15 officers, give or take. And right now, we have about 14 in service. They are fairly old boats, so they're doing a lot of maintenance on them while they get the Columbia class online. Another unique thing about boomers is it's a two-crew boat. And what that means is one crew will have the boat at sea doing operations, and the other crew will be in port in an office building doing more training, getting ready for the next refit, so big maintenance periods, and then also any qualifications they need to work on so they're ready when the boat comes back. And when the boat comes back, you'll turn over, so everybody will swap, and then you will start the refit period. So it's about a month-long period of fixing the boat and getting it ready to go back out to sea. And then you go back out to sea for about a nominal 78 days. That could be more, that could be less. My first 3 patrols were 100 days, so there's a little longer. But that is also because of some of the other boats had some mechanical issues that took longer than expected to repair. So here are some pictures. You can see the bunch of switchboard kind of stuff over here. These two guys are generally some of the youngest guys on board. They actually drive the boat. They'll have another guy, chief, sitting here directing them exactly what to do, helping them, and then you as the officer will be right behind him in this picture, commanding all aspects of the control room, all aspects of the submarine at that time. So here are the 2 periscopes. Boomers are usually a little older, and so they don't have the best technology or the most updated technology. So some of the Virginia classes actually have Xbox controllers they use instead of actually spinning around on a periscope. So it's a little unique. So a wardroom on board a Ohio class is pretty large. You get a lot of space on board a boomer compared to other fast attacks. This is the wardroom here. So wardroom is where all the officers eat. And not only do they eat there, they do a lot of training. Any casualties that happen, this is actually the surgery room. They have a big light up here to perform minor surgeries if necessary. And then also any operational planning, they'll bring a lot of people in there and present things. Down here this is the cruise mess. So this is where all the crew eat. A much larger space than the wardroom, and a much larger space than any other cruise mess for a submarine. They do a lot of training. They can watch movies and stuff, play video games when they have times off. But generally, it's mostly for eating and in training. And then going to where you sleep. So up in the left, this is an officer's berthing. So you have one bunk here, and then one bunk down there. So you have 3 people in this room. It looks a little tight, but usually it's not that bad because, like I said, we have 3 watch sections. So one person is going to be awake on watch, and then one person will probably be sleeping. And then the other person will be doing what other admin stuff they're doing. So either they're going to be in there or they're going to be in a different office. So it's not like everyone's always crammed in there. And you get a lot of locker space. You get laptops and 2 little desks, a bunch of locker space down here. And then the officers actually have their own bathroom. So they have 2 toilets and then 2 showers and a sink that about 10 to 12 people share at a time. But again, since everyone's on a different watch rotation, it's not like everyone's trying to use it at the same time. Then down here, this is where the cruise berthing is, in between the missile silos. Like I said, the missiles are actually right here. There's a shoe rack right here, so you can't really see it. But there's 9 people in here. So bunk here, bunk here, bunk here, 3 here, and then 3 behind this guy. And underneath they have a bedpan, so they can store all their clothes or socks and whatever snacks they bring on board. And also there's a bunch of lockers on the side for bigger items and more clothes. And they share, there's 2 heads on board for the crews. They're fairly large. They have 2 showers each, and then 3 toilets each, and 4 sinks, I believe, each. As a newer officer on board, you'll probably get put in one of these just because there's not enough staterooms for every officer, so mostly the senior guys. So you'll probably spend your first patrol, if you're on a boomer, in one of these type of staterooms. And here's a torpedo room. This is a Mark 48 ADCAP torpedo, and this is the hatch where they get pushed into and then fired and then reloaded. This is only 1/3 of the room, so there's another table here that's much larger than this one, and then another one of these entire tables on the other side. So it's a pretty big room compared to other torpedo rooms for different ships. So here's the unique part. This is the missile silo, or the missile compartment. On board a SSBN, these are all full of nuclear missiles. But on board a SSGN, some of them are empty. They don't have any tomahawks in them, and they actually are lock-in, lock-out chambers for any special forces or any unique things they may or may not be doing. That's kind of all I have. If anybody has any questions, I can answer anything. Or I kick it over to the recruiters and they go through their little presentation.
Awesome.
All right, you should have control.
Yep, I have it. Can you present our slides?
All right, do you have control?
Yeah, I have it. Can you hear me? Do you have our slides up or our PowerPoint?
No. Sorry, I'm sharing the wrong one. I understand.
Got it. Perfect.
There you go.
All right, here we go.
Okay, we're gonna roll right into it. Okay, Nuclear Propulsion Officer Candidate Program. That's a really awesome program for anybody who's going to school. Some of the benefits for it are you get paid as an E6. You can apply for the program up to 30 months out. You're pretty much in the military. You receive full medical and dental insurance. You're not obligated to wear a uniform. You don't have to adhere to our grooming standards. You're guaranteed a stable job after college, and you're also able to be promoted to an E7 if you refer another applicant from the Nuclear Propulsion Officer Candidate Program. Right now, we're giving a $15,000 signing bonus, and after graduation, your obligation to us is a 5-year commission. Okay, a little bit about the eligibility for the program. You have to be enrolled as a full-time student at an accredited institution. You'll have to be a U.S. citizen. That's because you will be given a top secret clearance if eligible for the program. You have to be a complete 1 year of calculus and 1 year of calculus-based physics to apply for the program. You have to be within 30 to 18 months of graduation of obtaining your bachelor's, or within 12 months of graduation of obtaining your master's. Some of the perks, as an E6, your base pay while going to school will be $2,600, okay? We also give you a food stipend, which is $250, a housing allowance, which is $1,200, and it could go up depending on where you're located. Your monthly total will be roughly $4,000. Could potentially be higher depending on where your location is and where you're living, because again, BAH or housing allowance is based off of where you're located. So if you were to apply for the program 30 months out and go through the entire, well, if you apply for the program 30 months out, you make $121,000. That's in just your base pay alone. 1 second. If you include your bonus, the $15,000 sign-up bonus that we give you, upon graduation, you'll have made $136,000. Not too shabby if you're a college student. Okay, from an operational standpoint, we have submarine officer and surface warfare officer. We also have support roles, which is your nuclear power school and your prototype instructor, as well as naval reactors, and we'll get into that later in the PowerPoint. But here's a little bit about the operational standpoint. So for your submarine and your surface warfare, okay, I guess we're going back over some of the perks that I kind of just went over, so I'll skip that. Go on to the next one. Okay, so here's the pipeline for someone who decides to pursue the NUPOC submarine pipeline. You'd go to power school for 24 weeks. That's in Charleston, South Carolina. That's going to be mostly all of your classroom things to teach you how to the day-to-day life of maintaining a nuclear submarine. Once you after that, you'll complete 26 weeks of power school, and that's where they're going to actually teach you how to actually work on a reactor. Okay. After you complete that, you will have to go through 8 weeks of sub school, which is in New London, Connecticut. And upon your first duty station, there'll be a 3-year tour where you'll do anything from deployments, patrols, port maintenance, and local operations. For the surface warfare pipeline, conventional tours 18 to 21 months. aboard ship as a division officer, 24 weeks graduate level course of intense training in Charleston, South Carolina, and 26 weeks hands-on. Just like the submarine side of things, you'll go to prototype school to where, again, they'll teach you to actually work on a reactor. Once you get to your first duty station, you do a 28-month tour as a division officer in the engineering plant on a nuclear powered carrier. Some of the home ports that we offer for surface and sub are Bangor, Washington, Burlington, Washington, San Diego, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, Japan, Groton, Connecticut, Norfolk, Virginia, and Kings Bay. That's trying to retell us.
Okay. All right, so Lieutenant Benton, I'm going to talk about the actual instructor positions that we offer. So as we said before, we have two. We have prototype as well as power school instructors. As far as the benefits, they remain pretty much the same, right, that we briefed previously. The age limit is 29, but the GPA changes from fleet, which is a 3.1 requirement. The instructor requirement is 3.5. And there's also no bonus. You don't get the $15,000 if you do the instructor route. So if you're going to do a nuclear power school instructor, it's going to be 5 years in Charleston, South Carolina. You'll teach approximately 1 to 2 classes a day, and that's going to be in the subjects provided there. So physics, math, chemistry, some of the engineering opportunities as well. You'll have graduate school opportunities that the Navy will provide while you're teaching. And then after you're done as an instructor, you actually have the opportunity to transfer to the surface or subsurface billets or jobs after your 5-year commitment. So prototype instructor, the big difference here is that you're actually going to be attending the power school and prototype similar to the fleet students, and then you're going to be teaching those subjects instead. You get some leadership and organization or operational experience by managing that power plant while you're teaching the students on that power plant. And again, you're funded graduate school opportunities, and after a 5-year commitment, you're able to transfer again to the surface or subsurface fleet. All right, NRE, Naval Reactor Engineer. This is probably our most prestigious and difficult program to join. Instead of 30 months prior to completing your undergraduate degree, you can only join this program 18 months prior to completing your undergraduate. The graduate is the same at 12. You still need to do the 1 year of Cal 1, Cal 2, and Phys 1 and Phys 2. Age limit is the same, but the GPA is required is a 3.8 or higher. All right, so if you're going to do the Naval Reactor Engineer, you'll end up spending most of your time in Washington, D.C., with a team of over 380 engineers. You'll receive an advanced reactor design degree and match major with engineering disciplines. So effectively, what does an NRE do? It's cradle to grave responsibilities for the nuclear power plants on ships, on shore, and any of the support facilities that are in the United States Navy. So the pipeline for the NREs is first you start off the 6 to 9 month assessment in Washington. You'll then move to prototype school and do 2 weeks hands-on training there in New York or South Carolina. Afterwards, you'll do the Naval Reactors Training Program, and that's about 6 months. And that's going to give you your graduate level education. And then afterwards, it'll be the shipyard, which will either be in Virginia or Washington. You'll spend 3 weeks there. And then finally, a week in Idaho laboratory to observe the fuel storage. Once you've completed that pipeline, you'll then move on to your 4-year assignment in Washington. And that's where you actually be doing the NRE work from everything that you've learned. Okay, so we've hit you with the life of what it is to be a nuclear propulsion officer, and now we've talked about some of the programs that we have in the pipelines. So if you're interested in joining, this is just a quick overview of how you would do that. First, we would determine your eligibility. By doing that, we would get your unofficial transcript and your ACT or SAT score, along with what program you're interested in. we would push that up to the nuclear propulsion coordination team, and they would effectively give us a courtesy review telling us yes or no if they would be accepted into the program. All right, so to wrap up the middle portion there, if you get the yes, first there's a trip. This used to be a physical trip, VIP trip that we would actually send you to. For instance, if you were interested in submarines, we would send you to a submarine, have you see what it's like there, maybe help you out with any of the questions you had with what that life is like. But because of coronavirus, unfortunately, we're doing virtual trips, right? So we host those every Thursday, once every Thursday of the month, all right? So if you're interested in learning more about it, none of this is obligation required. The only time that an obligation will actually occur and you actually enlist and join as an officer in the Navy is at the very bottom with the interview in Washington. So you can absolutely take the trip, learn more about the program, what it's going to be like in the life of a NUPOC officer before we go any further as far as paperwork that we do. All right, the next thing we work on is called ProDocs, Program Docs. Essentially, that's just going to be some information that we get on you, a motivational statement, your degree plan with how when you expect to graduate and the classes you're going to be taking, and some other things with drug screening, etc., things like that. All right, security. So I think we touched on it already, but every nuclear officer comes with a top secret security clearance, which is just money, frankly. So whether you do the 5 years and get out, the top secret security clearance is going to allow you to jump into any other government jobs, federal jobs, and of course any civilian job, right? So we'll need to get some information on you through a website that you fill out, and that's going to let us be able to vet you for a top secret security clearance. For medical, everyone in the military is physically fit and mentally strong, right? And so that means we're going to be putting you through some medical pre-screen applications that allow us to take you down to a place called MEPS, and there we'll make sure that you are physically fit to join the military. And that's all that is. All right, and then finally, before the follow-on 2 interviews is preparation. So we have a NUPOC study guide. It's really more of a topic sheet that's going to outline exactly what you can be expected to ask with your interviews, which leads us to the next point, is a technical phone interview, all right? So the technical phone interview, they're going to be asking calculus and physics questions, and you won't be able to use a calculator or notes or any cheat sheets. All right, this is basically to gauge. It's a filter or a pump that stops anything from going up to the admiral, which is what the final interview is. So the final interview will be with Washington, D.C. We used to fly people here before the coronavirus. Right now, we're doing virtual interviews with the admiral. And once you conduct that interview with the admiral, that's when you would actually be joining the Navy. After you finish that interview, that's when you'll raise your right hand, swear in, and actually start the scholarship program or move towards joining the fleet. All right. Anything before that is just a matter of us, learning more about you or teaching you more about the program itself. All right, so while in college, if you're accepted, you just need to keep making good grades. You keep making good grades, and we get your transcripts at the end of every semester, we're in good shape. All right, there will be random drug testing because we have a zero tolerance regardless of what state you live in and if whatever drugs are legal there. We'll be checking in with you monthly to make sure everything's going well, and you need to make sure that you stay in the physical standards that you were in when you originally joined. All right, again, you do not have to wear a uniform. Your grooming standards do not have to be military insofar. You don't have to cut your hair or shave your beard if you got one, all right? And there's no sort of drilling, all right? We don't do any drilling. You're basically a college kid making $4K a month and just being a good kid, right? Making good grades, not doing any drugs. All right, after graduation, so once you graduate, or if you've already graduated and you join the program, submarine and surface warfare officers are going to go straight to officer candidate school. It's 12 weeks long, all right, and they're going to be taught basic military requirements, how to wear the uniform, and basically get you ready to be an officer in the United States Navy. All right, you'll receive your commission and become an officer the day that you graduate OCS. For instructors and engineers, they actually go to ODS, which is Officer Development School. It's also Newport, Rhode Island, but it's only 5 weeks long. It's similar to OCS, except the physical fitness is a lot less intensive. All right. And actually, if you do the instructor engineers, you receive your commission prior to going there, vice afterwards. All right. And this concludes our presentation. So again, my name is Lieutenant Lucas Benton. This is Chief Antonio Bickley. And our information is presented here with our email and phone numbers. And right now, we'll open up to the floor for any questions that anyone has. So anything you guys got, feel free to reach out. All right, so anything you guys have, we'll leave this up for a little bit while longer and just take down our information. And we appreciate your time, and we thank the University of Auburn for giving us this opportunity to bring this tech talk to you. And thank you very much.
Go Navy.
All right, goodbye.
Thank y'all.